Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zachary, back bringing you some more NBA news and updates. You guys already know that we got a lot to talk about today, so let's not waste any more time with all this jibber jabber. Let's just get into everything we gotta talk about. But first, I do have to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, SeatGeek, aka the best ticket purchasing app out in the market right now. As SeatGeek is the only place to go when you need tickets to NBA games or any other live event. And let me holler at the fans of teams who might not be as good right now. Let me talk to you guys specifically. Y'all can get some extremely cheap tickets using SeatGeek. If you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, you can watch my Pistons beat your Cavs later this month for as little as $5. Meaning that when you use the promo code SDC at checkout, you can get 4 tickets for free, so you can take your cousin, uncle, brother, and sister with you to see your Cavs fall to my Pistons. I'll have the links down in the description box below so you can go check it out. So it seems like there's been this notion of trying to keep Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and any other star player the heck out of New York in the media, and some people just don't think that they even have what it takes to play in New York in the first place, and that person is Charles Barkley, as he just says that he thinks Kyrie and KD shouldn't even consider going to New York because they won't be able to take it. They're not tough enough to cut it in New York. As Charles Barkley today, what he would say to Kevin Durant if Durant came to him for advice about signing with the Knicks, and he said, "You ain't tough enough to play in New York." I don't think Durant or Kyrie are tough enough to play in New York. Kyrie's a very good player. Kevin Durant's a great player, but I'm not sure they have the mental makeup to play in New York. Those guys are complaining about the media asking questions. Maybe New York isn't the place for them. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant just got called out by Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley isn't afraid of going at NBA players. We already know this. He goes at pretty much every modern day player out there. So him calling KD and Kyrie not tough enough to play in New York shouldn't surprise anyone. However, I do think Kyrie and Kevin Durant could sort of look at this as a challenge from Charles Barkley. Since he said they're not tough enough, they don't have the mental makeup to play in New York. Kyrie should take that specifically hard since he's kind of from the New York area. Anyways, Charles Barkley wasn't the only ex-NBA player out here saying that Kyrie and KD shouldn't go to New York. Ex-NBA Knicks star Charles Oakley himself just says that he would not only advise Kyrie and KD to stay away from New York, but every other star player in the league. And coming from a former Knicks player, this is a pretty big deal. If you want to be in New York, look at the Nets. Sean Marks has done a great job. The Nets have better pieces. You get Kyrie and KD or Kyrie and Kawhi, and you have something. They have nothing bad going on with them. If Kyrie and KD come to the Knicks, it wouldn't be enough. The Nets are winning. They're not blowing teams out, but they're competing. The ball moves, you come to the Knicks, and it won't be easy. And now, if you've been paying attention to the New York Knicks and you know who Charles Oakley is, these comments actually shouldn't surprise you, because even though he's a former Knicks player himself, Charles Oakley right now doesn't like the Knicks, or more specifically, he doesn't like the owner of the Knicks, James Dolan. Now, we just talked about James Dolan in the last video about how he had that fan banned from the Madison Square Garden after the fan told him to sell the team. And yes, it's been confirmed that that fan was actually banned by James Dolan. James Dolan thinks that the fan ambushed him somehow. And the whole reason Charles Oakley and James Dolan don't get along is because James Dolan and Charles Oakley kind of got into it last year at a Knicks game. And after that, James Dolan not only had Charles Oakley tossed out of the arena, but he also had him banned from Knicks games. These two people do not like each other at all. And that's why Charles Oakley kept going on James Dolan on this subject. He wasn't going to let him off the hook this easily, as he then pleaded to Adam Silver to do something about James Dolan, saying the fans deserve better, but there are too many distractions here in New York, and it starts with the owner. The commissioner needs to step in and do something, suspend him, something. He just can't keep getting away with it. This man told security guards to throw me out for no reason. I was banned twice in 8 months. If I'm such a bad guy, why do they let me into Nets games? Chicago offered me a job. I got to go to games in Chicago and Toronto. Look at what happened to me and the other fans in New York. It keeps happening, and yet there is no punishment. I mean, he does have some pretty good points here. The way he throws people out and the whole vibe and presence that he gives off, you know, it just makes people not like him. And that's why everyone wants him out of New York. However, James Dolan doesn't think he's doing such a bad job. And he's not going to let these comments from Charles Oakley and Charles Barkley of telling people not to play in New York deter him. Matter of fact, He says that players have already been reaching out and telling him that they want to play in New York City. Look, New York is the mecca of basketball. We hear from people all the time, from players and representatives, about who wants to come. We can't respond because of NBA rules, but that doesn't stop them from telling us, and they do. I can tell you from what I've heard, I think we're going to have a very successful offseason when it comes to free agents. What will really help is we got a ping pong ball to fall for us. I'll believe it when I see it. To me, this kind of sounds like James Dolan talking out of his rear end to appease the other owners. There are more owners of an NBA team. James Dolan is just the majority owner. If all the other owners were to turn against James Dolan, then they themselves could pretty much force him to sell the team. They'd be like, you know what, I think we want to sell, and he'd have almost no choice but to sell. So I don't know, this seems like James Dolan talking out of his rear end to me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think that he actually knows that some top tier players are about to end up in New York? This story is actually pretty crazy. Here's the deal. How many of you guys remember back during the Super Bowl of 2017, when after the Super Bowl, it came out that someone had broken into Kobe Bryant's old high school and stolen his old high school jersey? Yeah, that's a thing that happened all the way back in 2017. Yet here we are in 2019, 2 years later, and up until this point, the thief has still never been caught. But even though the thief is still at large, and I'm sure he will be, I don't think they're ever gonna actually find this guy, the jersey has been returned. Like I said, this story is actually pretty crazy. Okay, so there's this guy in China who goes by the name of Liu Zay. I'm sorry, I know I completely butchered that, but I tried my best. Anyways, he's a 28-year-old Kobe Bryant super fan. So much so, in fact, that he decided to buy a $2,000 jersey that he thought was just a replica signed Kobe Bryant high school jersey. He didn't think it was the actual real thing until he got it and put his eyes on it, and when he saw it, he connected the dots and figured that this just might be the jersey that was stolen from Kobe Bryant's high school back in 2017. And what he does next is take the jersey to a local memorabilia shop to have it authenticated to see if it actually was the real thing, because there was a signature on it and they could try and make sure that that signature was legit. And it turns out that it was. Yeah, this was actually the jersey that's been missing for the past couple of years. Man bought it for $2,000. And then what he decided to do next is amazing, as the next thing he decides to do is just return it to the school it was stolen from, free of charge, asking for nothing in return. He did it out of the goodness of his own heart. Actually, he did it because he says that that was his Mamba mentality. Noting that last year, after he attended a Kobe Bryant basketball camp, he got his picture taken with Kobe Bryant, and on the picture it said, "Dream big, live epic, Mamba mentality." And that message from Kobe is once again what inspired him to do what he did. And I think this is just awesome, because it shows the effect that a player like Kobe Bryant can have on people even on the other side of the world. His Mamba mentality influenced this guy to just freaking do the right thing and don't ask for anything in return. Can you guys imagine what it's like to actually be Isaiah Thomas right now? Take a second to think about, put yourself in Isaiah Thomas's shoes. Think of yourself as a guy who a couple of years ago was talking about receiving the Brinks truck from the Boston Celtics, a guy that was on his way to receive a max contract. He finished top 5 in the MVP vote. He was all the rage, all the fans loved him, the Boston Celtics loved him. It was everything was going perfect for Isaiah Thomas, aka the guy who was the last pick of the NBA draft. It couldn't have been better. And a couple years later, here we are. It's not looking too good for Isaiah Thomas. All right, so head coach of the Denver Nuggets, Mike Malone, just said that Isaiah Thomas is going to be cut from the rotation of the Denver Nuggets right after Isaiah Thomas fought his way back from the hip injury that he's been battling for the past couple of years. And here's what the coach had to say. Oh, you definitely talked to him about the decision. I'll keep that conversation between IT and myself. It's not an easy conversation, but that's my job. 16 regular season games to go. We're going to try and find a rhythm, a rotation that I feel gives us the best chance to win now and in the playoffs. So obviously Isaiah Thomas isn't part of that rotation. And it does make sense for the Denver Nuggets. It's nothing personal to Isaiah Thomas, but he was just out pretty much the entire season. He's rusty. There's so much rust to shake off and not much time to shake it off. They're not going to gamble their season just so Isaiah Thomas can earn himself a bigger bag in the offseason by maybe showing a glimpse of what he's still capable of doing. So while I do understand why the Denver Nuggets kind of had to make this move, that really sucks for IT, because this was supposed to be the year that he was going to show that he could still contribute to a winning team, that he could still make a difference on a team. That's what Isaiah Thomas thought coming into this year. But now, he never got that opportunity to do it, and being a free agent again after this season, it's going to be another season where teams are just going to be looking at IT and be like, well, we really haven't seen anything from you ever since you hurt your hip, so why would we ever give you that big contract? And he's going to have to settle for another one of these little rinky-dink contracts that they give out to players not nearly as good as IT. So I actually feel pretty bad for the guy. I hope he gets his chance, and I hope he makes the most out of it next season. But that's gonna do it for the news today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, go ahead and smash the like button as well as subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you once again for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, but until next time, keep getting the buckets, Team SEC, and I'm out of here.